being at a fork in the road at some point, whether it's on the road during our commute or facing a critical decision in our lives. Sooner or later, we must choose our own path and go our way. It is a fairly simple matter if things go well and we're happy with our decision. However, what happens when you look back and think, did I go the wrong way? Ladies and gentlemen, Raj D A Fork in the road, a fork in the road, Raj D A.
Dramatic introduction. I recently finished my PhD in chemistry. This was earlier this year, and the specific date was June 15th. And I've spent 11 years immersed in the field of chemistry, and I consider myself a chemist ever since the day I stepped out of high school. However, I was sitting at my desk for the past 6 weeks, feeling unfulfilled, feeling unhappy, and thinking to myself, did I really make the right decision when I faced the fork in the road 11 years ago? And thus an honest self-assessment of who I am began. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow members and honored guests, allow me to walk you through the discoveries that I made during that self-assessment, and I'll offer you to learn a little bit more about them. So I recall the days back in high school when I was living in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. It's the city I was born in, the city I was raised in, the city I lived for 22 years. When I was in high school, there were only two things that really interested me, aside from women, of course. Chemistry and drama. I had excellent and inspiring teachers within each discipline. I excelled in chemistry and was very, very fascinated about how our world works and became obsessed with the question, why? Why this? Why that? A scientist's favorite question. I was constantly engaged in very stimulating discussions with fellow students and my teacher, and doing science experiments at home in my spare time became the norm. I had a microscope kit, my own chemistry kit, enabling discovery. On the other hand, there were more theater-related extracurricular activities that I could get involved with. So whether it was improv, whether it was directing, writing, one-act plays, improv competitions, theater sports, whatever it was, I really sunk my teeth into it. I really wanted to take advantage of it. In the assessment, I also realized in that same period, I held many jobs. This is actually the period where I held my first jobs. My very first job was being a historical interpreter at a place called Heritage Park. This is a historical park discussing Western Canadian history. And I was able to dress up in costume and interpret history as a Hudson's Bay Company fur trader in the 1800s. And so I got to interpret that form of history with visitors to the park. Quite possibly the best job I've ever had. I also worked as a telemarketer shortly after that for about a year. And I also worked in a warehouse. Now that's not necessarily public speaking, of course, but it was the thing that I was doing at the same time with that. I was also a professional wrestler for a little while. So if you've watched World Wrestling Federation, World Wrestling Entertainment when you were growing up, or you can watch it right now, you know exactly what I did. And you can see that there was a performing, speaking aspect to that, right? You can see that was the thing that really drew me in. Now at this point of the assessment, I realized that I never really had a fear of speaking in public. But at the same time, I was never necessarily crafted or skilled in a particular area. What I found is that I always needed an outlet to express. And what I'm doing right now for you tonight is exactly that outlet. It's the best outlet for me. So then I recall the end of high school, when that came around, and I faced that fork in the road. There was a question of, do I pursue science as a career, or do I take all these experiences that I've had as a speaker or as an actor and make that my career? This was not an easy decision to make, and I flip-flopped back and forth until I came up with the scientific path, which was 11 years ago. Fast forward to the present, here I am sitting at my desk thinking, do I regret the path I've taken? And now that I'm finished, where am I going to go now? Now I have to confess, I don't regret the decisions that I've made in my life. Going after a doctorate was quite possibly the best decision I made, as it led to a road of development and self-discovery. I'm not the same person that I was 5 years ago, thanks to the experiences that I've had in graduate school. More importantly, I've become aware of my strengths and my weaknesses, and most importantly, what is it that I like to do, What is it that I don't like to do? Or what is it that I really want to do for the rest of my life? So then what do? 11 years later, I'm facing another fork in the road. Where am I going to go? Am I going to walk down the same path that I've been going on for the past 11 years and get a regular job, do the things that scientists do? Or with all this new body of information that I've acquired for myself, am I actually going to give that acting or speaking a real chance? So here I am at Liberty Village Toastmasters giving my first speech in the company of welcoming and very supportive members giving this first speech. I've already started taking acting lessons again in order to get back into that field, and with the encouragement of fellow members, I've even started taking voice lessons in order to finally commit myself to crafting myself as a speaker and making this, what I'm doing tonight, the rest of my life. Mr. Toastmaster.